Hey, hey, what's going on, Rebels? How's it going? Dr. Christine here. Just trying to do a sound check, so we'll wait to see a few people come on to make sure that you guys can hear me all right, because I'm mic'd up. What we're going to be talking about today is the documentary, What the Health. This is, in practice, a lot of times people will say to me, hey, Dr. Christine, read this article. Tell me what you think. Or what do you think of this movie? What do you think of this documentary? What do you think of this book? And so I kind of had that tipping point where enough people had asked me about this movie that I gave it a look. And so unlike a lot of people that I've seen talk about certain things, they don't watch the full movie. I watched the full movie. And so I took a lot of notes, and I definitely, this matters to me to go over what I feel this movie has to say. And I will tell you that this movie, I agree with about 80% of it, okay? And the 20% that I don't agree with, I'm going to obviously highlight with you here. So, hey, Bogey, how are you? You're first in the room. And just go ahead and write something, Bogey, to make sure that I can see. Let me know if you can hear me. Just say yes if you can hear me. Hello, hello. All right. Can you hear me, Bogey? Pretty sure you can. I'm mic'd up. Normally I don't have my mic in, but because I'm going to be turning my camera around, I want to make sure that you guys can hear me. Hi, Kayla. How are you? Can anyone just tell me yes if you can hear me all right? Please. Pretty please. I know there's a little bit of a lag here. All right, I'm just going to go for it. No one's saying anything. All right, good. Now there it is. All right, very good. So what I want to do is I just want to give you a little bit of a backstory about why I feel qualified to review this movie especially. And the reason for that is primarily to, bye guys, everyone's leaving here, is back in 1997, while I was in chiropractic school, I had the pleasure to watch the movie A Diet for a New America. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this story, but if you haven't, I'm sure you've heard of John Robbins. Hey, Deanna, how are you? And John Robbins would have been the heir to the throne of the Baskin-Robbins empire. I mean, complete with the ice cream cone shaped swimming pool, all of that money that the family had, and he chose to go his own way. And this movie, I remember I was in tears sitting in the movie. I was in class, but the movie was on the big projector. I was in tears because I had no idea about the food industry. So I will tell you this. The very next day, not even joking, the very next day after watching that movie, I became vegetarian. And it shaped my purchasing choices from then on. And so if this movie, What the Health, has any of that similar kind of impact on people, then great. Because that is one of the most incredible advantages of this movie. One of the points that I absolutely agree with is that people need to be aware of how poorly our animals are treated when we prepare them for food, for feed. So that's something that we'll get into. So that's one of the reasons why I feel uniquely qualified about this movie is I empathize completely with those who don't want to eat meat because they wouldn't make that choice to kill that animal. So I'm not vegetarian now, but I am mostly plant-based. But it's still a struggle for me because I don't want to hurt anything, right? Like in my house, I let flies out if I can. I have this squirrel that just keeps challenging me to get in my roof, and I could have easily killed this thing, and I just can't. But I'm trying to live trap it, but even then I don't set the trap because I feel guilty. If I set the trap, I go to work, I don't come back home for 8-10 hours, I feel horrible to have that thing trapped in that cage for all that time. So that's my own thing. And, it has to be what your own thing is. And then the second reason why I'm uniquely qualified for this review is because in clinical practice, I've literally seen, tested, and worked with thousands of people for their digestive ailments. And one of the things that I key in on significantly is, what are you eating? What type of diet do you have? And so understand that, I don't know if I mentioned this, but 9 months of those 9 years that I was vegetarian, I was a vegan, strict vegan. I mean, strict vegan, right? And veganism is really a philosophy. It's not just that they don't eat animal products, but it's a way of life where they don't use products made from animals either. Okay, so like no leather sofas and stuff like that. And I am certainly not one to judge that. But in clinical practice, without a doubt, and this freaks me out that this is actually a fact for my practice and my observations. This is not something that I've studied and done like all of the study things that you have to do to make a study. I've not done that. This is just me paying attention and being aware that I'm saying this. The most ill and sickly patients, if I were to pick one type of diet, are 100% a vegan diet. And the reason for that is just because someone is eating zero animal product does not mean that they're making the right choices, okay? So you can be a vegan but be really a pastitarian, meaning you're eating nothing but like grain. You could still be a vegan and eat all grain, right? Doesn't add up well for how the gut works, okay? So that's something I want to just say at the top. So what I'm going to do now is, hey Tracy, how are you? What I want to do now is just kind of turn this around, get into some whiteboard action. And sorry, got a Facebook message. You know Catherine Mills, she's in the group. She just sent me something funny. You can always rely on that for her. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this around. I got a lot of stuff written down for you here, and then I'm going to go at the end and answer your questions. So if you have questions, type them in now, and I will come back and get them at the end. I promise you. Okay? So just kind of like a little bit of an idea. Look at all the stuff that I got for you guys today. All right? And so the first thing I want to say is, so we've already done this, is after this movie, you might have the question, should you become a vegan? Okay, should you become a vegan? And the answer to that question is, I don't know. I don't know. Why would I say I don't know? Because like I say with any diet, whether it's the FODMAP diet, whether it's the specific carbohydrate diet, the ketogenic diet, the paleo diet, vegan diet, what matters to me is, can you digest it? Can you digest it? I would say approximately 80% of my patients that sit in my consult room right in front of me are eating well. Let me say that again. About 80% of my patients who consult with me for help, who have Crohn's, colitis, IBS, severe nausea, they eat well. So they are eating mostly plant-based, okay? But they are not digesting what they eat. So just because you eat it doesn't mean you digest it. And that's the whole point of having a testing method that I use in practice. Whether it's physical in practice, I do a very specific exam on their body before and after they eat. And then if it's long distance, I do my urine test, or the leakygutTestKit.com. You can check out that, leakygutTestKit.com. You guys are healthy rebels, you know. But if I share this video out to the other groups, if you haven't heard of it, you can check that out by going to omegadigestion.com or thedigestiondoctor.com, okay? So should you be a vegan after you watch this movie? It depends. I think that being a short-term vegan is always going to be good to do that and to actually experience what that is like. But I personally don't think that a long-term, I'm talking years and years of being a vegan, is healthy, because you need B12, which you can't get from plant sources alone, okay? And so B12 has a lot to do with serotonin. And, you know, kind of going back to what I was saying to you about my clinical experience with vegans, a lot of them had a lot of depression, mind stuff going on. And so I'm not trying to judge all vegans. I'm just saying the ones that have come to see me here, even though they're a vegan, they're very sickly, okay? And a lot of that stuff was mental as well. They had a lot of stuff going on mentally. They didn't want to take direction. They were very angry, very irritable, which isn't to say all vegans are. I mean, you could have a paleo person be the same way, but I'm just saying it freaks me out how like just different. I didn't mean that they're crazy. I mean how crazy obvious that is what I was going to say, crazy. So should you become a vegan? That's up to you. I don't recommend it long term, but the next question is, should I become more plant-based after watching this movie, or even if I don't watch this movie? The answer to that is a resounding yes. I am a fan of mostly vegetarian diet, but I really don't recommend being vegan long-term, because I want you getting plant sources. I want you getting animal sources to get their B12 and some other things too. So I would have to say no. If you're going to make me say yes or no, should you be a vegan? I'm going to say no. If you're going to ask me, should you be more plant-based? The answer is absolutely, definitely yes. Okay? All right, so we got that question. The next thing you might be wondering is, should you become more conscious about your food choices after watching this movie? Yes, and hopefully you've already been that way beforehand. Okay? You really need to be looking at all kinds of things when you look at your food labels now. And it really comes down to this. Whatever movie you watch or don't watch, this applies. And that is, are you accountable and responsible for your health? That's where it all is, okay? That's where it all is. Because in this movie, and by the way, if you guys can just do me a favor, in the comments section, just write yes, or you know what, scratch that. Write seen it, S-E-E-N, seen it, if you've seen the movie What the Health. so that I know later who has actually watched this movie, seen it. And when I say, have you seen it? I mean, you've watched it every single second of it, not just like pieces and parts, okay? So say seen it if you've actually seen this movie, okay? So in the movie, they have about, I don't know, maybe 4 or maybe 5 people that they follow in the movie. And this is one of the things that I have a problem with this movie is they have this one lady that's in this big puffy coat. You know, the lady in the big puffy green coat? I think her name is Jane Chapman. I think. I'm not positive. Just the fact that I even rattled that off is pretty impressive as far as I'm concerned. But anyways, they have this lady in this big puffy coat, and she's on like 18 meds. She's on like 2 meds are for heartburn. Actually, I wrote this down. Hang on one second. Let me see if I can find my note. She's taken I think she's taken 6 different asthma meds. And by the way, I took 12 pages of notes today, guys. If you're not following me on Instagram, I had it on there. I don't have room on my board for everything. Okay, yeah. Her name is Jane Chapman. She's taking 2 blood pressure meds, 6 asthma meds. Even after 4 years of shots for asthma, she's still taking 6 asthma meds, 2 pain meds. She's taking other medications for side effects from the other drugs. She's on high-level antidepressants, okay? And they have this lady, and she's the one wearing the big puffy coat, right? And at the end of the movie, the coat's gone, makeup's on, hair's brushed, she's wearing a dress, and she's like, it's been 2 weeks. I'm off all of my meds, and I feel great. It's just like, come on. And why I'm like, come on, is because I literally cannot tell you how ridiculous that seems, that they did a 2-week thing, put on a puffy coat, made her seem like she was bigger, fatter, and then brushed her hair, put makeup on. You know what? I don't care how many meds you're on. No one's gonna perk up and be off all their meds typically. That's not a realistic thing. And I wouldn't even recommend that to my patient base. I'm not a medical doctor, so I'm not gonna say to them, stop all your meds, right? That has to be the person's choice on their own, and I tell them that. But I don't advise to stop taking all of your 16, 18 meds. I don't advise that you do a movie like this and follow someone around and then 2 weeks later take off their coat and put makeup on them and make that seem like that's actually a good comparison. It's just not. Patients that I'm working with, I expect to see changes in the first 2 weeks, positive changes, favorable changes, but come on, it takes the body time to heal and to come around. So I think that was a little bit disingenuous, that aspect. So the key I wanted to make about these people, like Jane Chapman is, they were giving all of their accountability and all of their choices and guidelines to their medical doctor, their medical professional, when they have to be the one. Jane needed to be the one to really take care of herself and make that decision. And so miraculously she did, right, with this movie. But still, the whole point is I'm glad she's off drugs, but I didn't like the way that they portrayed that 2-week thing, off all drugs, now I'm all cleaned up and everything like that. All right, so let's turn around with my issues of the movie. Well, first, I'm going to talk about what I agree with the movie. Let's do that. Okay, so here's what I agree with this movie, okay? 1, that processed meat, especially pork, okay, is not good for you. So you guys have probably heard of the term CAFOs, and CAFOs stand for concentrated or sometimes contained animal farming organizations, okay? Basically, CAFOs are where it's kind of like per pound, per like, I don't know, square inch or something, but essentially what it means is when animals are shoved in small confined spaces together, and a very unhealthy way to raise animals, not to mention very sickly way to raise animals, which then we are going to ingest. Not good. So CAFOs are bad news, okay? But the problem with this movie is that they're telling you about the link between eating meat, dairy, and eggs, and they're saying that these increase or, elevate the propensity to get heart disease, cancer, and diabetes, okay? Eating processed meat, they're trying to make a link to causing cancer and all this kind of thing. And guess what? I don't disagree with that. But what I do disagree with is how they portrayed this in the movie. So they're talking about processed meat like deli meat, salami, things that you get at like your butcher for the most part, the stuff that's in the case, I mean. And yet on the movie, they're showing grilled steaks. They're showing chicken kebabs. They're showing meat that is not processed, okay? So I eat grass-fed meat. I think grass-fed beef is incredible. Maybe you don't, but it depends on who you are and how well you digest it, right? But to say that kind of like the sweeping generalization of processed meat now includes all meat, that's how they portrayed this in the movie, and I had a problem with that. I do agree. You guys know how I feel about the 5 belly busters: pork, peanuts, corn, soy, wheat. In this movie, they show an image of crates, just boxes of these dead pigs. Breaks your heart. In these CAFOs, and they grind them up. In the movie, they say this, the narrative is saying this. They grind up these pigs, these dead pigs, and they feed them back to the living pigs. One of the reasons why I tell you not to have pork is this reason, okay? Because it's a very disgusting situation of how these animals are raised. So I am not saying to not eat meat. I think meat has absolute benefits of fat and protein sources. But in this movie, they're kind of talking out of both sides of their mouth. They're talking about processed meats, but then they're showing you actually good cuts of meat, which are acceptable in my view, okay? What I do agree with, again, I'm going over what I do agree with this movie, What the Health. What I do agree with is their take on Big Pharma, talking about the broken medical model and how there are conflicts of interest. And so when we have conflicts of interest, I don't know if this is American Diabetic Association or Society, American Cancer Society, is it? I don't know. You guys know what I'm saying. But American Diabetic Association, American Cancer Society, American Heart Association. So I think this is an S. The point is that these are like these governmental groups that are absolute conflicts of interest, because the people who contribute most to the diabetic, the cardiac, and the, hang on one second, diabetic, cancer, and heart are the companies in big pharma like Merck, Pfizer, Lilly, Bayer, Abbott. They give thousands, Johnson & Johnson, they donate millions to these associations. So I liked that this movie shed light on that. But in a way, I felt that this movie could be kind of schizophrenic, because are they talking about meat, dairy, and eggs, or drugs? I know that they're sort of linked, but I think that they missed the mark at showing more about what people could be eating better versus trying to make it seem like anyone who eats eggs, dairy, and meat, speaking of squirrels, there goes one running right now, should avoid that. They're going to have cancer and diabetes. So that's a problem I had, okay? All right. Eggs, grass-fed beef, this should be on the other side for what I don't agree with. What I do agree with is eating more plant-based. Absolutely, I agree with that. That's awesome. This will absolutely improve your health. I definitely agree with that too. And as I said, I agree with them talking about the bogus organizations, American Cancer Society, American, whatever you call it, Heart Association, and American Cancer Society. All those American societies, you know what I'm saying? They're highly supported by Big Pharma. So what causes cancer? What causes heart disease? What causes diabetes? If you talk to the people in this movie, if you watch this movie, they're going to think it's the processed meat. They're making this argument that eggs and dairy. And so here's where I'm going to disagree with this part. Okay, and let me tell you why. I don't disagree with the processed meat. I agree that that's not something you want to consume a lot of. But eating pastured eggs is a sensational form of fat and protein. You're going to get great forms of omega-3s. You're going to get, I think it's something like 70% more beta-carotene than you will in conventional raised chicken eggs. So it's really how healthy is the egg is really how healthy is the hen determines how healthy the egg is. But I've said this stuff a lot to you guys. Eating grass-fed beef is healthier because you're going to get more omega-3s, less fat. Okay, so let me just step back here and say, if you want to take a screenshot of that. All right, so here is where I take issue, okay? I've already probably covered some of these, but processed meat, and it shows the grilled meat, okay? The meat that's actually a good cut of meat, not processed, all right? Where I disagree is they're talking about fats and proteins in the meat, dairy, eggs, and how it may cause diabetes, heart disease, and cancer, and increase your cholesterol. Now, yes, animals will contain cholesterol, but the main reason why we have an elevated cholesterol is because we have low stomach acid, not because we're having fats and proteins. In fact, saturated fats have been shown in a lot of studies not to create heart disease. Okay, let me turn this around and talk about that. In the movie, they talked about a study that said children who eat processed meat, dairy and eggs, and they're talking about all this stuff about why it's bad. They're showing this lady cooking up bacon for her kids, and they're saying like for every amount of bacon you eat, it's I don't know how many cigarettes. I don't remember the exact stat. And then the movie shows a mom frying up some bacon with some cigarettes in the frying pan. Okay. Was it a good job at capturing your attention? Yes. All right. But what they next talked about is the study of fatty streaks in children. And so it was kind of juxtaposing children eating processed meat, dairy, and eggs with increase of putting fat down and cholesterol down in your blood. That is one of the major problems with this movie, is that is just not how it happens. And when you look at the study that they include on the What the Health Facts, whatthehealthfilm.com/facts. Thank you, Mary, for pointing me in that direction, because that was not easy to find at first for me. I looked at the exact study that they're talking about, that the movie supports for fatty streaks. And within their own study, it says that it's common and it's normal for 3-year-olds to have such fatty streaks, and that these can go back to our descendants way back when, right? So it's not a good study to support their claim. And what really increases the fat in the blood and the plaquing in the blood is undigested food. Nowhere in this movie are they talking about that. Nowhere in this movie are they talking about the need for fat and protein. Really, they're trying to vilify fat and protein sources from meat, dairy, and eggs. And this is where I take issue, because you can get amazing sources of fat and protein from really quality meats. You can get amazing sources of fat and protein from quality pastured eggs. And you could get, sensational forms of protein and fat from dairy if it's organic and high fat. You should not be buying non-fat skim milk, because that's not a good source of fat and protein. Okay? All right, I already talked to the vegans in practice. That was something that I took issue with. Okay, so insulin sensitivity. All right, let me turn this around. In the movie, they have like this little graphic, where they're showing like somebody's eating meat and all kinds of stuff, and it's like plaquing their arteries, and it's having like this funny little graphic. That couldn't be further from the truth. What causes atherosclerosis, okay, or thickening of your arteries, what causes that is inflammation. And the problem is inflammation, whether it's from heart disease, cancer, or diabetes, these are all complex diseases that diet alone is not going to cause. Okay? Yes, it's going to be a contributing factor, but there's no mention of emotional stress. There's no mention of their lack of exercise. There's no mention of prescription medications that these people are taking causing the inflammation. So in one way, this is why I felt this movie was schizophrenic, is they're trying to blame Big Pharma. And I like that. I'm all about that. It's a broken medical model, right? But they're not really talking to these people in a way to say, hey, are you aware of these medications you're taking can also cause atherosclerosis? These medications you're taking can also cause diabetes, and so on and so forth. So they really weren't holding these people, like the Jane Chapman and the other guy. I can't remember his name. It's in my notes. I might go look at that. They weren't really holding them accountable in this movie and asking them more like, what is your lifestyle like? So when you talk about cancer, heart disease, diabetes, it's a lifestyle. These are lifestyle diseases. They're most often diseases of our environment, our choices, the things that we're doing. Ooh, went dark there. So I took issue with that too. So continuing on, in this movie, you'll hear Dr. Neil Barnard get really irritated when someone says, when the main guy in the movie, Kip, says that sugar causes diabetes. Eating too much sugar causes diabetes. And Dr. Barnard rolls his eyes. He's like, oh, give me a break, or like he gets all irritated, right? And so in this movie, they almost make sugar to be this hero. And that's one of the this is the 20% where I have a hard time with that, okay? So anyone who talks about food, and again, foods are your fats, your carbs, your proteins, your vitamins, minerals, and your enzymes. In this movie, okay, they're really, really high on the carbs, man. They're all about the carbs. And they're making no issue with grain. They're taking no issue with grain at all. You don't hear them at all talk about wheat, corn, soy. You don't hear them all saying anything negative about these grains, which is concerning. And so this is why when I'm saying when you have vegans who are eating this stuff, this is part of the reason why they're some of the most sickly people that I've ever seen in practice. I'm here to tell you, you need fats and proteins for hormones. And that's just not happening with a lot of the ways that they're being proponents of eating this vegan diet. And so again, when I say this vegan diet, I think it's great to be plant-based, but I don't think you should be strictly vegan for long-term at all. Next, they had a picture in this movie of a bowl of rice and a bowl of broccoli, okay? And so they had like this bowl of rice, okay? And then next to it, they had this bowl of broccoli. And their point in this was, you know, like the biggest animals roaming the earth, the terrestrial animals roaming the earth that are the largest, like a buffalo, an elephant, are vegan. Well, I don't necessarily believe that that's 100% true because they're eating insects. So therefore, they're not vegan, but they're vegetarian. Okay, we'll give them that. Maybe that's what they did say. Maybe my error. But the point is they had this, this guy talking about how you get so much protein from your plants. Yes, that's true. You're getting amino acids, which are your baby proteins, but you're not getting a lot of bulk protein. And so their graphic said 50 grams, I think it was 50 grams of protein for this rice and 30 grams of protein from the broccoli. So they're like, you can eat totally plant-based and get 50 grams of protein from rice and 30 grams of protein from your broccoli. Well, what they're not telling you is, in order, and I looked this up on the USDA, and how much does 1 cup of rice, how much protein does that give you? How much protein does 1 cup of broccoli give you? You would have to consume 10 cups of broccoli to reach the 30 grams of protein. You would have to consume 10 cups of rice to get the 50 grams of protein. Who in their right mind is going to eat 10 cups of rice, high carb? That's like over 450 grams of carbs. We should be eating like 150 of carbs a day or less, depending on your weight. That's going to vary. But to eat 450 plus grams of carbs of just rice, this is the kind of thing that just is like they didn't try hard enough. You know what I mean? They could have made this movie. This movie could have been even better received, is my point, if they would have had a more balanced approach, okay? Like they could have said, if you are going to eat meat, try to eat less of it, eat more plants. These are the plants that are going to help your heart. These are the plants that are going to help this, this, and this. These are the meats, these are the meat companies that you should steer clear of because they're horrible to their animals and how they treat them. Here are the eggs and the type of eggs that are different. Here we have a conventional egg. Here we have a pastured egg. Look at how much healthier this hen is. It's able to roam free. It's able to eat insects. They could have reached a bigger audience if they would have done that. Here's an interesting thing. I kind of think that this is what happens. Recently, we saw in the news the whole thing about coconut oil being bad for you, which is also false and laughable, right? I almost feel like the American Heart Association, which released that terrible piece about coconut oil being bad for you, which is just not true, they released that in response to What the Health releasing this piece targeting, you know, the American Heart Association. I kind of feel like it's like, hey, you're going to give us that? Well, we're going to give this back to you. You know what I mean? So you have to watch these things with a very scrutinizing eye and do research on your own. Like, even if you're watching this and you're getting some tidbits from me, don't necessarily believe anything that I say. This is where you want to go do your own research. And so this is what I did today. I was in the office for about 4 hours just researching this this movie for you. In fact, let me just show you. I mean, I take this stuff seriously. And these are my notes for just this movie. So let's see where I started here. Not that you guys don't believe me, but I want you to know that this is important stuff. Okay, so I'm starting like right here. These are all the notes that I took today, this morning. Okay, all this stuff. So this is what I want you to do when you're researching something. Okay, so like here I'm like, I agree with this. I agree with this. Let's go ahead and see what I wrote here, because I didn't include every single thing from this movie. But this is this Dr. Alan Goldhammer. I'm not sure what kind of doctor he is, and I didn't get to check that. I put homework. What kind of doctor? I'm just curious. And I agree with his position, is what I said, on Big Pharma. He says, under conventional medical treatment, quote, you are guaranteed that if you follow your doctor's advice, you will be sick forever. You'll never get well. Thumbs up, Dr. Goldhammer. I like that. Further says, because the strategies are all about manipulating the symptoms, not dealing with the underlying cause. I couldn't read my own writing. Because the strategies are all about manipulating the symptoms, not dealing with the underlying cause. Quote. I agree with that. Then they had this medical doctor come on named Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn. I agree with what he said. Quote, you come in with that diagnosis, you get a bunch of pills that have nothing to do with the diagnosis, causation, or you get these procedures that have nothing to do with causation or disease or diagnosis causation or disease causation. I agree with that too. The problem I have, like I said, the grilled meat, this kind of thing. Oh, he also said, people who take the statins, they still get their heart attacks, they still get their strokes. This does not reverse disease. This does not make plaque cells smaller. This is a front of massive proportions. I love that. I love what Dr. Michael Clapper said, MD. He says, it is a deception to say this pill will help you unclog your arteries. This one will save you from a stroke. No, it doesn't. Thumbs up. So, it's just like having an objective mind, okay? So what I want to do now, here are all my notes from today for you guys. Still going. Still going. Still going. Still going. So that's the kind of work that I put in. And if you take anything away from my little review here, I want you to behave the same way. Get a notepad out and a pencil. Go on Google, research some of the links that they're throwing in there, read the abstracts, go to the conclusion if you want the little paragraph or two that's talking about what they did, and just get in there as if you're me. I mean, I am no different than you. Just because I have some initials after my name means nothing. Just because I have initials after my name means nothing. Why would I say that? I'm saying that because look at how many people have MD after their name and are completely killing people left and right with their advice. Boy, that was a stinger. I mean it too. Just because you have initials after your name means nothing. So don't be intimidated by someone's credentials. Don't be intimidated by someone's education because it means nothing. It really doesn't mean a thing unless you're applying it in a way that is effective and looking at the body's God-given way to heal, that's embracing the body's ability to recover and have energy and to restore function. If it doesn't do that, when we're talking about healthcare, I don't know why I get in a dark spot there, then these degrees mean nothing. So you should be you should be advocates the way that I'm talking about this movie for your own cause and for whatever thing that you want to talk about. Okay, you should be getting there with notepad, your computer, and just going after it, right? And looking at both sides of the story. As you can see, I'm talking about things I agree with, and I'm talking about things that I don't. Okay, so let's see what else I've missed here. And remember, if you guys have questions, throw it in. Another reason why I don't agree, and I kind of already mentioned this, is that they have a singular focus on causes of heart disease, cancer, and diabetes from eating a non-vegan diet. And so let me get back to that. Where's my little marker here? Sorry. What causes these guys right here? Never is there any mention of one word, and that is stress. Okay? This is the cause for all disease. This is the cause for all disease. And so these are things like emotions, physical things, like car accident, slip and fall, and all that, and then nutritional, environmental things. I don't have room. I have so many things I've written here. Okay? These are the causes of disease. So it's emotions, physical, structural, environmental, nutritional. All right. What causes cancer and what causes heart disease and diabetes all have to do with this. But I did some extra research for you. And I went to the CDC and I looked up the top 10 cancers for women and men in the U.S. This is from 2014. So this is combined of all classes of people, races, skin tones, all of that, all right? And these are the top 10 forms of cancer in America for men and women. Number 1, breast cancer. Well, it's going to be mostly women, but it is men too. Prostate is only men. And by the way, it's prostate, not prostrate. There's no R after the prost. It's prostate. Little trivia for you. The third cancer, leading cancer in America is lung cancer, followed by colorectal, followed by uterine, followed by skin, bladder, non-Hodgkin lymphoma, kidney, and thyroid rounds out the top 10 cancers in America. Now, my question to you is, as you're looking at this, which of these cancers have to do with diet? Which of these cancers have to do with diet? Every single one of them. Which of these cancers have to do with your gut and digestion? Every single one of them. You might be thinking, breast cancer, how does that have to do with digestion? I'll tell you right now, because we're dealing with hormones, which has a lot to do with digestion, and we're dealing with the lymphatics. Okay? Underneath your arm, you have a major lymphatic drain into your armpit. Okay? It's called the talus spence. And when this gets clogged up, again, your lymphatics is your body's waste removing system. This is going to impact your health significantly. Not to mention throwing aluminum into your armpit to stop you from sweating. That's never going to be a good idea. Okay? So if you're using antiperspirant, you should stop. And it would have been great to, well, this movie wasn't about that so much, but there are a lot of movies that talk about this kind of thing, but never mention that, meaning change your deodorant, change from your antiperspirant to a deodorant. Okay? I'm really digging on the brand called Freedom, ladies. It's called Freedom. It's the best deodorant I've ever used. Ever. Freedom, it's called. Just go onto Amazon. It's like, I think $12 for a bottle of it. So, clearly a lot of people will look at this and kind of link that into digestion, right? You might look at this and not think digestion. Same thing, hormones here. Okay, remember, your fats and your proteins turn into your hormones. You need fats and proteins in the diet. And the fact is, a big point of this movie that's really missed is, even if a vegan diet was so sensational, the amount of people who are actually going to eat enough plants is very slim. There are not a lot of people who are vegans who do it the right way. And what I mean by that is they eat tons of salads, they eat tons of beans. A lot of vegans out there are doing it sloppily, if that makes sense. Just like there are people on the paleo or keto diet that are doing it in a horrible way too. So I'm not trying to pick on vegans because I get it, but you got to be really tight with that diet and it shouldn't be long term. All right, so continuing to look at this, 16,000 people die every day in the United States from cancer. That's 1 in 4 people. And there are over 500,000 people total in the U.S., okay, that die of cancer. But cancer is number 2. The number 1 reason people die in America is heart disease, okay? And so heart disease is also connected to this as well. Diabetes also connected to this as well, okay? So this is all stress, inflammation, all of that. And what I want to do now is talk about digestive stress. If you guys have seen my little video, you can get to it by going to thedigestiondoc.click/stress. You can see my 8 phases of digestive stress video. A lot of you have already seen that. But speaking of stress, it starts with your diet. Then it affects your digestion. Then it affects your bowel movements. Okay, constipation, diarrhea, that kind of thing. Then we get inflammation. And we get inflammation because the body is not properly removing waste. Okay, and this is a buildup, it's a toxin. Now it's going to affect our immune system, which 80 to 90% lives in your gut. Then it's going to affect your autonomic nervous system. Again, this is the direction that stress goes when it accumulates. First diet, then it affects your digestion, then it affects your bowel movements, then it causes inflammation. Now it's spilling over into your immune system. Now it's spilling over into your autonomic nervous system. Then it's spilling over into your hormone system or your endocrine system. And then eventually it reaches your body's lymphatics, which is your sewer system. Okay? So this is the cause of heart disease, cancer, diabetes, are these stresses in this order. That's what we should be looking at. Okay? Everyone's going to benefit from eating more plants. That is absolutely true. Okay? But not only plants. I think grass-fed beef, I think pastured eggs, I think wild-caught fish, I think organic chicken. Be smart about your food purchases, and you want to avoid these CAFOs, okay, these combined animal farming organizations, which these animals are just suffering, okay? So that's how I feel about that. I don't think I've missed anything. Understand that it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. I got a lot going on that board. I'm just trying to see if I missed anything for you guys. I'm just trying to pack it all in. But I know you guys are going to have a question, so I'm going to come down and look at that. Yeah, I think I got it all. And also understand, too, the movie talked about this stat, which is the heart disease, diabetes, and cancer industries, if you will, is a $1.5 trillion industry. So Again, it's a moneymaker. So, of course, these organizations like the American Cancer Society, American Heart Association, American Diabetes Association, they're going to want to mislead you. They're going to want you to think that you need their drugs, but that's just not how you should rely on that. And we are accountable people. We have to be responsible for our health, and we have to make the better choices. And so, if anything you take away from this movie, if it starts changing the way you look at your food purchases, I'm happy about that, because I think that's a point everyone should really respect. All right. Whew. All right, let me go in here and see what's up. Let me go all the way back. All the way back. Keep throwing your questions in now. It's not too late. Hey from Wales. Hi, Tracy. Thanks for being here. Bogey, Mary. I know I need a bigger board. Bogey said, I had no intention to become vegan or vegetarian. I really felt for the animals low. Exactly. That's me, man. I only became vegetarian when I was watching Diet Food in America because of how the animals were treated. And it's an awful situation. I'm the kind of, but everybody's different, you know, like I'm the kind of person, I don't even want to hear stories of the peril of animals. Like my family kind of knows this about me, and my mom's the worst, because she'll say, oh, did you hear about the fawn in the lab? I'm like, Mom. She's like, oh no, it's a good ending. It saved the fawn. I'm like, okay, well then you can tell me about it. But I don't want to hear about the doom of animals. It breaks my heart, and I just can't stand it. So I don't know if you're at all like me, but a lot of you are. Bogey says, I was vegetarian for years, and I developed protein deficiency. Yeah, and so that's another quote that I wrote down in here. This is in the movie from Dr. Garth Davis, MD. He says, I have never in my professional career seen a protein deficiency. That's because he's not testing for it, or if he is, he's testing for the blood, which you're not going to see that until it's way advanced. Okay? I see protein deficiencies all day, every day in my practice. Okay? I see fat deficiencies, I see protein deficiencies, I see carbohydrate deficiencies. Understand that those are your 3 macronutrients: fats, carbs, proteins, and understand that it is enzymes, guys, which are foods as well, that liberate those macronutrients for energy. They're not creating more energy. Enzymes are not creating more energy because energy cannot be created. It's just that enzymes are going to convert those foods into usable energy for your body. So again, at the top of the show, I talked about, it doesn't matter if you're a vegan, it doesn't matter if you're, FODMAP, whatever the case is, can you digest it? That's what matters. Okay, that's what matters. And protein is your healing nutrient. And I'm telling you, people are just not getting enough protein. And it concerns me for vegans that they're not getting enough protein. Even though, yes, amino acids are protein sources found in greens, in your lettuces and things like this, in your plants and your fruits and your veggies, it's not enough, in my view, from what I've seen in practice, guys. Mary says, sorry, my eyes are just like, I'm over 40, so this is what happens. I eat more plants and fruit. I eat fish or chicken 1 time a day. Oh, that's awesome. Yes, Bogey talks about B12. And so B12, really is getting into our body from animal sources because the animals are eating bacteria. So I like nutritional yeast as a source of B12 if you're vegan, if you can get away with that. But, I'm a fan of raw cheese. I'm a fan of pastured eggs. I'm a fan of grass-fed beef or wild-caught salmon. Just try your best to buy the best cut of meat. Try your best to get the best seafood. This is what matters. You don't want to be buying farm-raised anything. I mean, like for fish, you don't want to be buying animals in these facilities where they're crammed in and they have no room to move. Mary says, I eat more plants and fruit. Okay, I said that. I agree with eating plant-based most of the time. Exactly. Some people were asking me, how plant-based are you? I'm about 70% plant-based, and then 30% I'll have meat, which includes fish, poultry, eggs, all that stuff, I should say. All that is the 30%. You watched half of the movie, okay. Yeah, Bogey, you remember are you talking about the puffy coat lady, where they have the puffy coat lady walking around all like a mess in her walker, and then all of a sudden she takes off her coat, they put her in a dress and brush her hair. I mean, it's like a Saturday Night Live sketch. I thought that really did a disservice to their mission, really. And I wanted to say to you, if more people did eat plant-based and had more of a conscious awareness of how rudely we treat our animals, we would have a beautiful planet in an instant if more people just did that. If more people just paid attention to who they're paying their money to when they go to the grocery store, we would have a better planet like that. okay? And so it's a rough thing. It's a rough situation. It's like it has to be a balance. Bogey says, I was constantly commenting on the movie when I was watching it. It was so much misinformation in it, nor did it sound credible. Yeah. Yes, know who your meat distributor is, Mary. Excellent value. Thank you for saying that. Yeah, all those associations are corrupt for sure. Again, American Diabetic. And by the way, another thing that I didn't mention, nor did this movie, is another major contributor to the American Diabetic Association is the company that owns Splenda. So that's why you have all these people who are diabetics thinking that Splenda is good for them. Yeah, no, it's not. So it's outrageous. But then, again, this is why you need to get your notebook out, get your pencil, get your little pencil sharpener, and start educating yourself like you're doing a report for school. That's how I prep for these things for you guys. Debbie says, I'm a vegan for life, and that is for ethical reasons, but you convinced me it's okay to eat Happy Hen eggs, and I do it now. That's awesome. You know what? If somebody's going to eat only vegan and have farmed, raised, pastured Happy Hens, that's all you need. I'm happy with that. I think eggs are a perfect form of protein. So you're done. You're good. You don't have to start eating fish or grass-fed beef as far as I'm concerned. Or maybe if you had a little bit of grass-fed butter, up to you too, if the cow is happy as well, not mutilated or killed in that process. I think that's really open-minded, and I know that that's not an easy thing, Debbie, because I feel your pain. I was an angry vegan. For those 9 months of my 9 years of being veg, I was an angry vegan because I was so pissed off that you would go to a restaurant and it would say black bean soup, and it would say black beans and whatever, and I'd say, okay, but is there any pork in there? Because a lot of times I know you flavor with pork. Oh, no pork in there. I take one bite and you can taste the pork. I mean, when you're a vegan, you can taste if you have animal in your stuff, even if it's the tiniest little bit, because you're that in tune. And so it frustrated me so much going out to eat. I felt really annoyed. And, you know, there's so many more restaurants now for vegans that's awesome. That's great. But again, a lot of vegans are eating soy. Not a good thing. Again, that's one of the belly busters. So it's a way better time to eat vegan. I'm not saying I want you to be a vegan, but it's a better time to go out socially and be a vegan. So that's good. Bogey says some of the facts in the movies were BS in my opinion. I got that kind of too. Too much carbs is contributing to the causation of diabetes. Agreed. But again, everybody probably has heard of Neil Barnard, and he just doesn't think that carbohydrates or sugar cause diabetes. That's just so sad to me. Mary says, I've seen vegans eat tons of fruit in one day. I mean, lots. If that's all they're eating every day, that's a problem because that's an imbalanced diet. I mean, you need fats, you need carbs, you need proteins, guys. You need all of them. And so one knock I will give against the keto diet is that this should not be a long-term diet either. Let me say that again. The ketogenic diet, as much as I love it, just as like I love the vegan diet, it should not be long-term. And because you need all those forms of food. And, you know, a lot of keto people are saying, I can't have fruit. Yes, you can. You need it. So just modify and don't do keto every day. You've got to have fruit, guys. You need that. You need fruit, period. That's why it's here. Speaking of that, I remember one time when I was vegan. No, I was not vegan. I was vegetarian. I wasn't vegan yet. I ordered a pizza. And I asked it with no pepperoni. And the guy goes, why don't you want pepperoni on it? I'm like, because I'm a vegetarian. I don't eat animals. He's like, what do you mean? Animals were placed on this earth for us to eat. I wanted to punch the guy. And you know, I still, now I'm a hypocrite, admittedly so, because I will eat a cheeseburger. I will eat fish, and I wouldn't ever want to kill that, but I'll eat it. So this is my internal conflict. Let's see. Hi, Peggy. Hi, Monica. Hi, Kim. Hi, Sherry. I don't know if you guys are all still here. Keep asking questions because I'm almost done. Hi, Karen says, that's so wonderful for you to say to us. It's wonderful to hear doctors speak the truth and speak up and not defend the bad behaviors of the doctors. Thank you. Hey, Kat, how are you? Dr. C, I love you more each time I listen to you. You are so genuine and love how you have such a big heart in wanting to educate people. I don't have MD after my name. But I know more about the rare blood cancer I am fighting than my oncologist. It's so true. You've proven my point. You've proven my point. Just because people have initials after their name does not mean that they know what they're talking about. And it's sad to say, because you're paying a lot of money to these people to be tested and to really rely on their expertise in a lot of examples. I'm talking about if you've done all your homework and you know that you need to go that next step. And a lot of people are just let down because the medical profession is so bought into the insurance industry, which is bought into the pharmaceutical industry. It's a vicious cycle. It's disturbing. It's revolting. It's all of those things. So you have to do your research, guys. And you should be excited to do your research. You really should. Hi, Susan. She says, there are a lot of great natural options for deodorant. Yeah, I really love Freedom. I think that one's Schmidt's or something. I've not tried that yet, but I don't need to. I love Freedom. The name of it is Freedom. Little butterfly on it. I get the lavender one. Deanna says, what are good fats and proteins to eat every day? Eggs, avocados, nuts, wild-caught fish, obviously greens for your amino acids, which are baby proteins. Those are essential too. But mainly your nuts, avocado oil, coconut oil, butter, grass-fed butter, ghee. These are the main ones. Grass-fed beef I think is so great. And by the way, I didn't get to all that on here either, but I was reading an article that compared conventional eggs to pastured eggs. Again, pastured eggs, for those watching, is not pasteurized. This is a common thing people say. Pastured eggs means the hens are roaming the pasture. They're not in a cage, a warehouse, none of that. I mean, maybe at night to protect them from skunks and foxes and stuff, rightfully so. But pastured eggs were found to have 1/3 less cholesterol than conventional eggs, 1/4 less saturated fat, 2/3 more vitamin A, 2 times more omega-3s, this is pastured eggs, 7 times more beta-carotene than conventional eggs. So no more regular eggs, guys. You got to buy pastured eggs. Grass-fed beef was found to have a lot more omega-3s. I somehow got interrupted with a patient or something because I left it there. But this is the kind of thing that you can pick up where I left off and do these comparisons. Thank you, Peggy. I love you back. You're welcome, Mary. Yeah, Susan, take a look at it. Hey, what's going on, sicko? Hi, Doc. Thoughts on the supplement Restore? Yeah, a lot of people are asking me that. I don't have an opinion for you, although they're doing a great job marketing because everybody's asking me about it, but I've never had to even use it or look at it, so I'm not the person to ask about it. Susan says, I have iron deficiency anemia, so not sure if vegan would help me. So, you know, I remember when I was veg, I found that pound per pound, spinach has more iron than like a beef liver. But do you know how much spinach you'd have to consume, right? So yes, you should still be plant-based, but you know, you're gonna get adequate sources of iron from your plant-based food. So don't think you only have to have meat in that case. I wouldn't worry about that. Deanna says, I don't eat a lot of meat, mostly chicken. It bothers my stomach. What can I do? So make sure that you're eating the most humanely treated. I actually hate that word, humanely, because I think humans are just innately cruel to our animals, unfortunately. But really research how well that animal is treated. Like Gandhi said, right? You can tell the health of a nation by how well its animals are treated. I believe that's the quote. So you can go online. I just recently ordered some grass-fed beef from this farm in Texas. Read all about them. Unfortunately, I'm blanking on the name because I just ordered for the first time, and I only had one steak, so I haven't really used it much yet. It's in my freezer. But, you know, do your research. I just do not recommend pork, no matter how humanely treated the pigs are. And I know I think there's a farm in Pennsylvania that's really good. I don't remember the name. I don't eat pork. So I just don't recommend pork, guys, just because of what I see it do to my patients in practice. And this is why I feel qualified to talk to you in this way. Why is soy bad for vegans? Nina, great question. And the reason is because it's genetically modified, and it's an estrogen and hormone disruptor. And it also robs your body of zinc. Quick story, one of my best friends ever was vegetarian. She drank tons of soy milk, ate tons of soy protein hamburgers, like the soy, like the chick patties, CHIK, you know, by Morningstar Farms. She ate tons and tons and tons of soy. She hadn't had her period since before I even knew her, I think. And I think she skipped like 3 years or something like that. And I couldn't figure out how to help her. We were classmates together in school. And she came upon an article somewhere that soy robs your body of zinc. And we both already knew that zinc has a lot of play in instrumental processing of reproduction. So it can affect your menses or your period. I kid you not. She went to Rite Aid or whatever the little pharmacy store was, picked up a whatever the brand was for that little pharmacy of zinc, a supplemental form of zinc. I'm not even kidding you. I'm looking you in the eyes in this camera, if that makes sense. She got her period the next day. Flipped us both out. She got probably the crappiest form of zinc known to man at a pharmacy, and she got her period the next day after not having her period for 3 years. So soy is a problem. It'll mess with your hormones. It'll mess with your period, and it's also genetically modified. However, on occasion, maybe once a week, if you have tempeh, which is fermented soy, I'm sure you probably know this, or if you have the edamame itself, if you have that once a week, I don't have a problem with that. I think that's fine, but I think that a lot of people who are vegan, who eat too much soy, this is part of the reason why we have a lot of trouble here. I mean, I've had a lot of patients come through here who are vegan who have had a lot of mental stuff. I mean, they're really hard to deal with in the consult because they're so in their own headspace. And I'm not saying this out of disrespect. It just was alarming to me, the separation of what that level of illness was presenting to me versus somebody who was eating meat. A lot of this going on that I've never seen. And it makes you sad. I mean, their hair very dry, their skin tone gone, very gaunt, very skinny, no energy, very irritable, a lot of brain fog, more so than people who eat meat even. Thank you, Andrew. Hi, Bessie. Okay, Bessie says, my diet is a hot mess. I can't eat any dairy, meats, and some fruits. So, Bessie, are you taking any digestive enzymes? I'd start there. I definitely avoid the 5 belly busters, pork, peanuts, corn, soy, wheat. I know you've been following me for a little while, so hopefully you're doing those. And if you're doing those and they're not working, that's when I recommend working with me at virtualdigestiondoc.com. There are 3 ways you could work with me all throughout the world. I just consulted with somebody just about an hour ago from Australia, another person from Australia. You are welcome. You are welcome. Jerry, how are you? She says, have been using organic lemons for deodorant, cut into pieces, freeze, rub under my armpit instead of deodorant. Works great. Awesome. I'm going to give that a try. Thank you for that. Kat says, yes, pastured eggs all the way. Don't let cage-free fool you. Exactly. That means that they are not in a cage, but necessarily outside. They're all stuck in a big warehouse. Exactly. I say that same thing to my patients. Thank you for that. Hey, Maria. Maria also uses lemons. Oh my gosh, you guys, this is news to me, so thank you for that. Kayla says, John Henry's Farm in Millington, Michigan is great, and they deliver. You can also find them at Royal Oak Farmers Market on Saturdays. Kayla, are you referring to the eggs for John Henry's Farm or grass-fed beef? What are you referring to? Just so people who are from Michigan, which is where I live and practice, could know that. All right, Bessie, you got it, girl. Let's do this. Let's work together. If you're not feeling well by now, let's do it. Because you're missing something, and I can help you with that. Margie says, hi, is magnesium citrate good to use as a laxative? It depends, right? What mostly we should be thinking about is why are you constipated? For most people, yes, it will work. But the better question is why are you having the constipation problem? What's causing it? Vogie says, I'm happily reporting that I don't have bloating lately. Thank you for Smart Carb. Thank you. For those that aren't aware, that is my flagship product, my digestive enzyme. You take 2 caps before your meals and snacks. What that is a plant-based enzyme with turmeric, black pepper, and cinnamon. And it's excellent for helping to reduce bloat, gas, discomfort, all that. Okay, Kayla, it's eggs, meat, butter, and everything. Awesome. I will check it out. Thank you so much for that. Susan says, I've been taking iron supplements and it's just catching up to me. Yeah, iron is known to constipate, specifically if it's the wrong formula. Woo! Okay, you guys, I'm going to show you one more time if you guys want to do a little, I'm going to do like a silent, you can do like a silent screenshot. I mean, I'm going to be quiet. I'm going to be silent so you can do a screenshot. So this is what I was talking about. Okay, and then here's what I agreed with. Okay, here are the top 10 cancers from 2014. Cancers. I don't know why I said it like that. Top 10 cancers. And Here are the forms of stress: emotional, physical, nutritional, environmental. We talked about a lot today. Those are the causes of cancer, heart disease, diabetes. Any disease is caused by those 3 stresses. And all of those stresses will ultimately lead to this, inflammation. And all of that inflammation is going to lead to energy deficiencies. And so when we talk energy deficiencies, we are talking about problems with our fats, carbs, proteins, because this is where our energy lies. Okay? Your body is first going to receive your energy from the carbohydrates in your meal. Then your body, if it runs out, it's going to start using energy from your proteins, gluconeogenesis. And at the very last, it's going to break down fats into use for energy. But that's last because your body is preserving a lot of that for your gonads, your eyes, your brain, and so on and so forth. So you want to use carbs first for energy, then proteins, then fats. But, you know, how are you digesting it? That's the key. Okay? Again, if you want to learn more about these 8 phases of digestive stress in this order: diet, digestion, bowel movements, inflammation, immune system, autonomic, nervous system, endocrine, which is your hormones, and lymphatics, I got a free video for you right here. thedigestiondoc.click/stress. Okay? All right, let's see if I have any more questions from you guys. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Kayla. Appreciate it. Yeah, do your homework is the main thing. Be mindful of what you're buying at the store. That's the next main thing. Eat mostly plant-based for sure. If you're going to eat meat, great. Just make sure it's the healthiest cut. Make sure it's the most well-treated if possible. Pastured eggs all the way. Again, you know, just eating pastured eggs and a plant-based vegan diet would be enough, really. And maybe a little bit of cheese here and there. You're welcome, Bogey. Kat says, hey, Dr. C, I've been reading a lot about coffee enemas for cancer healing. I understand the cleansing property for keeping the colon clean. Is it necessary if you have regular bowel movements and digest? Where did we leave off there? Oh, and digest well. I have never in my life done an enema of any kind, coffee or otherwise. I've heard great things about them. I've never had a colonic. I've heard great things about them. So that would be something I'd have to educate myself more to give you a more credible answer. I am going to do a colonic, and I'm going to actually probably Facebook Live it for you. So I don't know when that will be. But I'm not going to let you guys see all the, you know, all the private areas, but I'm going to let you guys see the hose. I mean, I think I'm blushing. I think that goes without saying. I'm not going to let you see my anus. It's late here, man. I should never have said that. I apologize, but hopefully some of you just laughed. I mean, how many doctors say I'm not going to let you see my anus on a Facebook Live video? Probably not many. You're welcome. Yeah, I'm gonna do a colonic live. Right. I'm gonna talk about the process. I'm gonna show the stuff coming out of my colon. I'm gonna do it live. Yeah, no showing my ass. Thank you, Peggy. Woo! All right, you guys. I don't know how long we've been going here. I think for an hour and 5 minutes. Hey, Sandra. Sandra, you're not making comments, but that got a ha-ha out of you, so I think that's success. The more healthy rebels that comment on the stuff, the better. All right, you guys. So, thank you for being here so much. Hey, Kimbra, how are you? Nice to see you. Hey, Lisa. All right, good. You guys are liking that. So that would be like a project I'll have to set up. I'll set that up in the fall. How's that? It's kind of like, you know, put your money where your mouth is. Put your blank where your blank is, right? I mean, if I'm the digestion doc, I should show you guys what's coming out of there. And I'm going to. All right, you guys are awesome. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sharing this out. I'm probably going to put this over onto my business page, but not yet because I'm going to go home now. But love yourself healthy. It all starts right here. Love everything around you, including the animals, including the plants, right? I mean, really look at plants in a different way, that these things are sprouting up all over the earth to feed us. We live in such an amazing world, right? That we have all this beautiful stuff, all these colorful things. On my Instagram, I was doing an Instagram recipe for you, and just the color of the garlic, like the skin on the garlic cloves, this beautiful magenta from my buddy Lisa, the cupcake lady, Elizabeth Pell in here. Just plant your own garden. Get as many foods as you can from people who are growing organic, who care about that kind of thing, and pass it on. You know, like if you have an extra surplus of whatever, pass it on to your buddies. You know, share that stuff, teach them, give them a book, whatever. Whatever we can do to help each other, that's what I'm all about. So love yourself healthy, then you can help others around you even more too. I'm just dragging on right now. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.